think as it's just a couple of minutes after 10, what I'll do is I'll get started with the kind of housekeeping background information. So hello everyone, Borda, good morning. If any of our Irish members are joining us this morning, Jiawich Margin, I've probably mispronounced that, so I do apologise. I'll have to improve that. But thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name is Sophie Crouch, and I'm a project coordinator at Mentemon as part of the Selkie Project, and I'll just be chairing today's session. As I'm sure you may have heard, having registered for this particular event, this is a series organised by the Selkie Project, and it's focused on providing business support for companies looking to diversify into the marine energy sector. And these events will give your company the opportunity to learn more about key themes from experts in the sector to help in your endeavours to enter and work this innovative and sort of rapidly growing industry. It will also give you the opportunity to network and meet with other companies and hopefully hear about the various projects and developments that are going on. Today is actually our very first session in the series, and we'll be focused on tenders. So we're delighted to be joined by our expert today, Tristan Jones, who is the Sell2Wales portal manager, responsible for maintaining the online Sell2Wales portal service provision, which is the national procurement portal run by Welsh Government. Just before we do officially get started and have a quick introduction to the Selkie Project, I'll just run through a few housekeeping guidelines. Although I'm sure everyone is very well versed in most formats for these online events, we are hoping this will be a bit more interactive than kind of typical webinar. But for now, if I could just ask that all participants keep themselves on mute and remain on mute unless otherwise indicated, just stops any feedback, ensures everyone can hear a speaker nice and clearly. After hearing from Tristan this morning, we will be holding a live Q&A session. So please do submit your questions via the chat, and we will, of course, endeavour to answer as many questions as we can. So do submit them as we go, or of course, as they come to you during the conversation at the end. If you wish to ask the question yourself, we definitely would encourage that. So please do use the raise hand function, and we will call your name. And then, of course, if you just unmute and provide your question, that would be brilliant. If you do need any assistance at any point, just send a message via the chat. We have got the Selkie team on hand to help with any technical difficulties. So we'll keep things running smoothly, hopefully. If you're on social media, please do follow us and mention @Selkie Project and use the hashtag Meet the Expert on Twitter and LinkedIn. And just lastly, this session will be recorded and shared on our website, just so you'll be able to go back and use it as a resource or share with your colleagues or contacts that may also find it useful if they weren't able to attend today. And before I officially introduce our speaker, I'd just like to give a very quick update and overview on the Selkie Project, just for those of you who maybe don't know much about the project, or perhaps it'll just be a refresher for some. So just bear with me while I share my presentation. Okay, hopefully that's visible for everyone. Let me know if it's not. So yeah, just as a background there, Selkie is a cross-border project between Wales and Ireland, bringing together leading researchers and businesses in the marine energy industry. As you can see, the project is led by 6 partner organisations with an overall aim to streamline the pathway to commercialisation for the marine energy sector. So the project is funded by the European Regional Development Fund as part of the Interreg Ireland to Wales cooperation programme, and it is a highly collaborative project between the partner organisations across Wales and Ireland, and we're working broadly on sort of research and development, as well as industry engagement and business support. So as part of the project activity, Selkie aims to support the industry by developing a set of multi-use technology tools bespoke to the region and improving services that will assist developers and supply chain companies to ultimately progress further towards commercialization. So these tools that you can see on screen range from foundations and moorings design, support programs, to techno-economic GIS software and operations and maintenance tools, all for wave and tidal sites. And as part of the project, these tools will be trialled on wave and tidal devices to test their reliability, their survivability, and also their commercial potential. So yeah, on screen now you can see a bit about our pilot projects, as I said, which are demonstrating the tools themselves. So this is with tidal developer Sabella and wave developer Ocean Energy. And it'll be a brilliant way to kind of develop this pathway for testing and improving marine energy devices. So alongside the development, we are engaging with businesses, providing knowledge transfer and ultimately building a network of companies across Wales and Ireland that are working in the sector. We really encourage a vast range of businesses to get involved, whether you're working on technology development or providing services through the supply chain, or even looking to diversify from another sector. It's a great opportunity to kind of get involved with a growing number of businesses being connected across the sector. And it's a great way to learn about the industry and sort of gain support and knowledge from leading industry experts. But it's also a fantastic opportunity to build contacts with like-minded people. It is completely free to join the network, and businesses that are involved receive a range of support options. So this could include full training in the tools that I mentioned earlier. It could also be input into the development and testing of new products. We can also assist with data analysis and modelling work. And perhaps a bit more broadly, we can also provide more general knowledge transfer and business support, such as today's session. But we can also provide tailored business support and networking opportunities as well. So on screen, I've just included some of the businesses that are already part of the network. I've actually split this onto 2 screens now. We've got quite a big network growing and really diverse group of businesses joining. So if you would like to hear more about the network and the project in general, my email's on screen, and just please do get in touch. I'd be happy to chat. But I think for now, we'll return to perhaps the purpose of today's session and why you're all here. And that is to talk about Sell2Wales. So I'd just like to introduce today's expert and speaker, Tristan Jones, who will explain about the Sell2Wales website service, which aims to help public sector buyers to advertise and manage tender opportunities, as well as help suppliers find contracts, including through tenders put out by publicly funded marine energy projects. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Tristan. Thank you.
Diolch, Sophie. Bore da. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to everybody today. I think this session is going to be a little bit of it's a bit of a strange one doing this over Zoom or over Teams or however it is, because normally in the room you can gauge, you can talk to people, you see people's faces, whatever, see whether they're still awake by the end of the presentation. And you can usually get the show of hands who knows a little bit about Sell2, etc. So I'm going to assume that everybody may have heard of us or may have heard of Sell2Wales and what it's about. So the session is going to be a little bit about the portal itself, how to make the most of it. So I'm not going to go into massive detail, but what I would say is, obviously, if anybody's got any questions or would like me to follow up in greater detail, after this meeting, then please do get in touch. So I'm going to try and hopefully share my screen. So it should now. Yeah, apologies on that one because I'm having to share my right. So I'm hoping, because then can everybody see the presentation now? Yeah. Sophie, are we still there?
Yeah. All good,
Okay,
thanks.
sorry, yeah, because I'm on full screen now, so I'm effectively talking to myself from where I can see. So apologies.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you're all good. Thank you.
So yeah, what is Sell2 and how can we help your business succeed? Right. So very briefly, what is Sell2Wales? A little bit about registering with SOC, which is our single sign-on system that we use now. A bit about searching for contracts, notice types, and this is kind of the crux of it, really. The important bits of Sell2Wales is the alerts profile and your public supplier profile. And then obviously we'll have the contact us up there as well. So what is Sell2Wales? So I'm often get asked this, and it's quite the kind of the complicated or the full answer, if you like. It's the portal where Welsh public sector organisations post their contract opportunities. So in other words, I always try and liken it to, imagine it as a shop window where you've got your public sector buyers advertising their contracts. So if you imagine a virtual shop with, virtual display cabinets going on to infinity almost. So the public sector buying organisations post their contracts in these display cabinets. Suppliers come along, they register with Sell2Wales, get a key to that door, go into the shop, have a look at the contract opportunities. Similarly, with their profile, that gives them a chance to post their virtual business card to that virtual pin board. So the buyers can come along and see the suppliers that are on there, what they can offer. So it's a vital development tool for finding opportunities within the public sector. There were some of the big private sector organisations on there previously with us as well, such as the Aston Martin. That was a pilot programme, but generally it is the main public sector organisations. So why is it important for my business and how does it work? Well, it's simple and easy to use, and it's a valuable resource for your business. So from a buyer perspective, you can use it to do a little bit of market research on the supply chain. From a supplier perspective, you can also do the same from the buying organisation. So you can have a look, see what's out there. If you're a small SME, for example, and you see a contract opportunity that you may feel yourself not ready to go for that opportunity as yet because you may not have the skills or the capacity, you can use it as a tool to find other suppliers for collaborative bids, for example. So it's your gateway to getting new regular alerts of any new contract opportunities as well. And this is the important bit. Last year, there was approximately just over about £6.7 billion of opportunities that went through Sell2Wales. About 79% of those are smaller contract opportunities. That's really important to stress, and that could be anything below threshold, below the what's now FTS threshold, what used to be OJU. And for quick quotes within the construction industry, for example, those can be up to 1.4 million. But generally, the lower value ones are 25k or less, depending on the policies and procurement rules and regs of each buying organisation. So I mentioned single sign-on. This is a Business Wales, because Sell2Wales is part of the Business Wales family, if you like. We've developed the single sign-on, so you can log into Business Wales, Sell2Wales. Hello Blog is our free translation tool service for small businesses. And Boss is our online business support portal. We are about to launch the updated Sell2Wales module on there, so that's always a good one. It's free. You can jump on there, and it's very easy to use, very easy to follow, and it gives you a little bit more about what Sell2Wales is about. So the main bit, searching for contracts. So searching for contracts on Sell2, as I said, you can use it as a tool. You've got the main search function on the front page. So it's quick, simple. You can filter by categories, location, buyer name, and keyword. So for example, today, and with the relevance for today, you've typed in marine, for example, in the keywords. It will bring you all of the contract opportunities that relate to marine. And that is by where the buyer selects the CPV codes, the common procurement vocabulary codes. And I'll show you a little bit about them in a second. Or the other way as well, we've got the individual project pages on Sell2Wales on the front page. These are ones that we've set up for the bigger projects. So for example, as part of the Swansea Bay City deal, there are 4 marine-based projects, so the Pembroke Dock, Marine Energy Test Area, Pembroke Dock Demonstration Zone, for example. And what these do is it provides almost like a sub-site within Sell2, where information, the latest news, and any contract opportunity that's published that's linked to that particular project page will pull through into here as well. So it's quite an important bit to kind of think about. It's almost like your one-stop shop. As I said, within the project pages, you can find the multiple Swansea Bay City deal ones. These are the ones that we've got up there at the moment. There will be the other 5 to go up. And similarly, we've got all the Transport for Wales and all the big tier 1 projects where from these projects, they will employ their tier 1 contractors. We will work with them, give them a project page, and then the subcontracting opportunities then will follow through. So types of contracts, and this is kind of, I've put this in, or I've kept this into our generic slide pack really, just to give you some sort of idea. So site notices will appear on Sell2Wales, Sell2Wales only. The ones that are set up by the buyers, they're generally below threshold notices. And they can be single, straightforward single stage procurement. They can be dual stage, or the PQs, or they can be the prior information notices or PINs. So these are generally published by the buyers to give the suppliers or to give the marketplace an early indication that a contract or a project will be due generally within the next 6 to 12 months. And then we've got the full FTS notices. These were overdue previously, and now obviously with the post 1st of January, these now go to FTS. So this looks a bit complicated, but it is relatively straightforward. So the slides on the left, these are the types of notices as I've just mentioned. And the slides at the very right, the 2 there are how suppliers get to know about them. So you've got the different process flows where they get published on Sell2, FTS go up to FTS, then get pulled back down. Project pages get advertised. But at the end of it, at the end of this hopper, if you like, what happens is that suppliers get alerts, and that's the important bit. As I mentioned, there we go. Here's one I have. We have an alerts profile. So the alerts profile matches your profile as a supplier when you register with contract opportunities, and then you get them in a nice, tidy email. At the end of every day, the system runs through all the notices published that day. And then to get the most of it, you need to fill in both the categories and the geographic location. So this will be a geographic location of where you want to receive alerts from. So for example, if you're based in the south and your business is, generally you want to know about opportunities that are in the south, then you can select the south. Similarly, if you're up in the north, you may not necessarily want to receive notifications of the other end of the country, or obviously, you may want to receive notifications of everything, so select all areas. So the search categories, so again, these are the CPV codes that suppliers and buyers need to tick, and then, as I said, geographic locations there. So how you select your category codes within your alerts profile. So this one, the screenshot we've got here, I've actually gone specifically into marine. So you just type in keyword marine, and this brings up all the other subcategories that make up that CPV code. So there's generally within there's about 10,000 CPV codes altogether, but there usually will be something that matches the goods or services that you supply. And it then allows you to match the CPV codes that are published within those notices. So as you can see there, within Sell2Wales is other services, and then miscellaneous services and marine services. And then, as I mentioned earlier on, with the project pages, again, it's important to tick the project page box in your alerts as well. That way, as soon as a notice gets published on the project page, it'll be added to your email alerts. So a little bit about the CPV codes again. I'm stressing this is important because what we've found in the past is where, for example, a buyer might select, well, this is one example that did actually happen as well. A buying organisation selected the supply of plant machinery with a driver, and the supplier who was in that sector selected supply of plant machinery, and they didn't take the with the driver bit. So those two opportunities didn't match up, therefore the supplier missed that opportunity, missed that potential contract opportunity. So sometimes it's worth maybe having a look at all different categories, or selecting the main category types as well, and that way you'll receive, yes, you'll receive a little bit, everything that's in that category, so some of it may not be relevant, but it's better to have that rather than potentially miss out on any opportunity. So your public profile. This is the supplier sourcing directory that the Welsh public sector use. So think of it essentially as a yellow pages. So your public profile is your advert, if you like, within that yellow pages. So it builds on the information already held when you register. It allows suppliers to provide buyers with more detailed information regarding the goods services that you provide to the public sector. And this is an important one where we've been we've done quite a few Meet the Buyer events over the course of the last year. And we did one recently with the NHS. And the NHS came to us and said, one of the barriers that we're facing is typically in this situation we're finding ourselves in, was provision of PPE, for example, ventilating machines, all that kind of stuff. And what we were finding is that some of the suppliers, when they originally registered within the manufacturing sector, for example, so we had one, there was a car manufacturing parts plant, so they had a production plant. When they registered with us, it was under car manufacturing, manufacture, production, plant services, etc. They then diversified as a result of the pandemic and went into manufacturing parts for ventilating machines. However, what they didn't do was update their public supplier finder profile. So when the NHS came along and want to find manufacturers of parts for ventilating machines, they were missed. So again, they were potentially missing out on what would have been fairly huge potential contract opportunities there. So it's important to keep your profile up to date and accurate. So within there, you can put your name, your company logo, company description, the regions, whether you're an SME or not. And again, within the keywords, you can have up to 6 keywords, but you can have multiple words within those keywords, if that makes sense. And these are important because quite often buyers will search on keywords only. They may not necessarily have the time, or it may be particularly with relevance to you guys here today. You may be within the marine sector, so they may use marine energy. Those would be the kind of keywords that they may be using. So when a buyer is reviewing supplier's public profile for a quick quote, they'll be looking for keywords, logo, contact information, etc. And QQs, or quick quotes, these are, as I said earlier on, these are low value opportunity notices that are produced through the system, but they don't get advertised publicly on the system. What happens is the buyer will create a QQ, use the supplier finder directory, source their suppliers, so they'll get a list of the chosen suppliers, and they'll hit send an invite, and those suppliers will receive a direct invitation to quote from that buyer. So it'll be open directly between just the buyer and just those suppliers. And then finally, I think I'm not sure where we are on time, but these are my contact details. Obviously, please feel free if there's anything or any questions or anything I'm not covered. I'm aware that I'm rattling through this because I do this quite a few times. But yeah, please do feel free to get in touch. So I am gonna stop sharing, hopefully. We should be back to the screen.
Brilliant, yeah. Thank you, Tristan. Yeah, that was brilliant and well within time. Impressive. I think, yeah, just as a reminder to everyone, if you do have questions, definitely put them in the chat, or of course, do raise your hand. Happy for anyone to ask the questions themselves. So I think we did have a question from William. William, did you want to ask your question, or shall I read from the chat?
Yeah, no, sure. I can answer. Hello. Hi, Tristan.
Morning.
It was just one of the slide earlier on, you were talking about the single and dual stage procurement. I think you said PPS. I've heard of these. We haven't done that in Sell2Wales before. I just wondered if you could just elaborate a bit on that, what that actually means.
Yeah, essentially you've got, it depending on the size and the nature of the contract. Okay. So you'll have what we call the single stage. So they're the straightforward ones where they'll do a site notice or a single stage contract. So that's open to everybody.
Yeah.
So they say, the example I always use is we've got housing associations registered on Sell2, yeah?
Yeah.
So they're building an estate, so they're thinking, right, I want a contractor, general building contractor to build 20 houses. So straightforward, doesn't have to be, they don't have to be complicated accreditations or anything to it. So they'll do a single stage tender open to everybody, whack it on the site, and everybody can apply for it.
Got ya.
The dual stage is where they produce a PQQ, a pre-qualification questionnaire.
PQQ, okay.
So that will be, that might be where there's either a high risk on the contract or a high level of interest. So that what they want to do then is effectively, that's their first filter, if you like. Or it may be there are particular, for example, for the Transport for Wales contracts where they have to be trackside accredited, there's risks. There could be construction line gold, for example. It's going into slightly complicated territory at the moment, because at the moment there is a supplier questionnaire, it's called the Squid, where a supplier fills in his pre-populated set of questions.
Okay.
That's going to be phased out, and they're bringing in what was ESPD, was the European Single Procurement Document. It's now SPD. Please don't get me started on that one. It's getting really twitchy. But again, that's a similar kind of thing where a buyer there's a standard set of questions that have been designed, and it was designed across Europe so that it's a level playing field for everybody. So the buyer will choose, what level of insurance have you got? What level of accreditations have you got? Are you able to demonstrate, 5 years of financial, whatever it may be? And then the buyer will will answer those same questions. And then the system then allows the two to come together, so the buyer can attach his responses within that PQQ.
Okay.
So does that explain? I mean, I know I'm into kind of procurement.
No, sure, yeah, no, I understand. So yeah, and that's set up on the sites, and it's sort of the 2-stage, and it leads into the second stage then.
Yeah.
Which is more detailed.
That's it. They'll publish a first stage notice. They'll get the responses to that. Once they've got those in and done the PQQ, they'll then issue the kind of part 2 notice, if you like.
And the site, so it would only then be open. The part 2 would only go to the people who passed the first stage. You wouldn't be open to another influx of people coming in.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
That's kind of brilliant. All right, that answers my question. Thank you.
No worries.
Brilliant, thanks, William. We've got a question from David.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I used Sell2Wales every day for many years, just for research purposes. Never fully understood it, but I used it anyway. So this is great, very useful. Something that I always used it for was to find contracts in other parts of the UK. Could you maybe explain a bit why there is contracts from other parts of the UK on it, and why we'd use Sell2Wales for those contracts?
If you think about the simplest way of thinking about it is, as I said, we're a kind of a shop, if you like. So we pull down. So we're not a procurement portal in and of itself, apart from QQs and site notices. So what happens is above threshold notices, so previously OJU, so the official journal of the European Union, or TED. So your England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland would publish the notices. So they publish them on their equivalent of Sell2Wales, if you like. Those then get sent up to OJU, or it was now TED and FTS, sorry, and then we'll pull them back down. So you might have buying organisations outside of Wales that publish a notice, goes up to FTS, and then we just pull it down. So all we do is pull down the feed from FTS. So that's why you'll find you'll have, if you look on Sell2, you'll have the little symbols that we've got on there. So we have to change them slightly now. So what you've got is the thinks that the Welsh Dragon flag is for site notices on Sell2Wales only. And then I think we've got the Union Jack, then it pulls down from FTS, that pulls down all the other feeds. So you've got, up in Scotland, you've got Public Contracts Scotland, or PCS. England, you've got Contracts Finder, FTS. And if you look at the Scottish site, you find it very similar to Sell2Wales.
Mm.
The reason being that originally, when Welsh Government went out to procure our portal, the company that we procure and we tendered with, they did them both. They did the Welsh and the Scottish site.
I always thought they were the same site. I was like, this is just
it's almost the same site. So the background, the advantage of that is we work closely with the Scottish Government as well. So if they do any developments to their site, then it's quite often we can do a shared development, so the shared cost, etc. So it works quite well. And they, learn from us, we learn from them, sort of thing. So it's kind of, and it's consistency then across the board for suppliers, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I have many technical questions, but I won't bore people to tears. But
by all means, after this one, if you want to drop me a line, or we can, catch up on a Teams meeting, then yeah, I'm more than happy to run through any questions or anything we can do to help. Then yeah, give us a shout. Okay,
thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, David. Yeah, just as a reminder, if you do have questions, if you'd rather not say them, you can put them in the chat. That's no problem at all. But if not, just raise your hand. I suppose I had a quick question, Tristan. You mentioned the Meet the Buyer events. I just wondered how often you have those and sort of how businesses can be notified or get involved with them.
Yeah, those tend to come across. It's almost like buses. We may have none for a little while, then you'll have quite a few coming at once. So at the moment, we've got quite a few that come through from the schools framework, so SUSCAP and the 21st Century Schools framework. So you've got a lot. There's a couple of the construction companies up here now where they've won the contract of how to build new schools. So we'll be working with them. So on the front page of Sell2, we've got a feed from the Events Finder, which is the Business Wales Events Finder, which coincidentally I manage. So what will happen is we'll work with the organizer, get the event set up. Once it's on the system, it'll pull through into there, and we'll do regular mail shots as well to all our suppliers and across Business Wales and the socials, etc. So yeah, just keep an eye out, really.
Brilliant. And just out of interest, have you had any sort of marine energy related Meet the Buyer events before? Or?
We've worked now, as I said, the project pages from the Pembroke Dock and the Swansea Bay City deal. Those would be the ones that will be coming through fairly shortly. So I think we've got a meeting coming up actually quite soon with them. So what will happen is we'll have a chat with them, see what they've got coming up. So as soon as we know what projects they've got coming up, then we'll start, organising the Meet the Buyer. So what I'll do when the next one comes along, I'll share that with you guys, and then maybe you can circulate to everybody else as well, make them aware.
Yeah, brilliant. Just checking, David, you still had your hand up? Did you have another question at all?
No, I better ignore
it.
But I actually thought something from my. I used to use tender websites every day from all over the world, and I must say Sell2Wales is one of the best in the world. So you're very lucky in Wales. But just something I always found very useful, and I think people probably would want to know, is to look at current notices and future notices. Especially,
that's a good point.
Especially if you're dealing with the Welsh Government. I think the Tidal Lagoon Challenge is where I spotted that one was under future.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, essentially, as I said, from suppliers' perspective, you can search buyers. So you can search a buyer's profile. Now, within their profile, as David mentioned, you'll have the current notices, you'll have their past notices as well, which again is quite useful, and their future notices. And one good point is on the past notices is where we had a supplier came to us once, and they were a locker manufacturer. So they're doing, sports halls, fire service stations, that kind of thing. And they're saying we're really struggling to get to know or to get in touch with a buying organisation, and that would be the local government or whichever one it is, a local authority. So I said, right, have a look at search buyers, So search buyers, found the local authority, found them, went into a past notice, when that full notice details gives you the attention and gives you the name of the department. So again, you can use that, you know, as a bit of a not a marketing tool, but a bit of kind of business information tool for your business.
Brilliant. All right. Just as a sort of final call, does anyone have any last questions at all? I was just going to maybe ask maybe a bit of a tough question, but do you have sort of a key piece of advice maybe that sort of could go across the board for suppliers when they're maybe putting together a tender application with Sell2Wales?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say is not only Sell2Wales, but because we're part of the Business Wales, the Welsh Government family, if you like, as well. There is Business Wales support out there, free support. So they do how to tender workshops. You can arrange a one-to-one meeting with a business advisor. So that's one thing I would thoroughly recommend, is that have a chat, make that meeting. It's free, there's no obligation, doesn't cost you anything. And the advice that they can give is invaluable because they are experts. They can review your tender application. And we've had this many times where a supplier has come to Business Wales. They've attended the Meet the Buyer. Off the back of that, they've arranged a bit of tender support. One was Estuary Oils, I think it was. They were a small company, but they were going to bid for a big contract. So the tender advisor ran through their contract, picked out good bits, see where they can improve it. And as a direct result of that, they won, I think it was a £1.2 million contract off the framework. So again, you know, contracts that come through, there may be individual projects or individual contracts, but there may be other frameworks, and that, you know, those can be quite daunting. So as I say, either the Business Wales tendering advisors, the how to tender workshops, or, you know, us, Sell2Wales, by all means give us a shout. That would be my key takeaway, is, you know, ask, please do ask.
Yeah, definitely. It's brilliant that you have that service available, as I'm sure it can seem like a daunting process at first, but yeah, lots of support in place there. That's brilliant to know. So I guess I'll just double check the chat, but if we don't have any other questions, I'd just like to firstly say a big thank you to you, Tristan, for your brilliant presentation and great advice, I think, to the attendees today. And thank you to the attendees for joining us. Thanks for your time this morning. I hope you found it informative. I know I definitely did. I didn't know much about Sell2Wales before, so yeah, great stuff there. Just as a reminder, we have recorded the event, so if you'd like to use it as a resource, just check it out on our website. And I would really encourage you to sign up to the Selkie newsletter if you haven't already. Just to keep informed on any more project updates and events. And you can find out more about Selkie Network and also our partners MEW and their membership program. I think the links will be put in the chat, so you can have a look at those in your own time. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn, and we're launching our brand new network discussion group. So this will be a place to connect with other businesses involved in the Selkie network, and any questions that you have on Meet the Expert sessions that you didn't get a chance to ask in the sessions, just add them on there, and hopefully we can continue the conversation and facilitate connections sort of beyond this session. And just as a reminder, this is the first in our series, so please have a look at the other sessions and register for any topics you might be interested in. Our next session will be on Thursday, the 10th of June at 10 AM, and this will be with renewable risk advisors. So just as a bit of background, Renewable Risk are a specialist risk management consultancy and insurance broker, and they've got a really unparalleled depth of experience of risk mitigation specific to renewable energy sectors. And their session will run through a number of real life examples of accidents and failures that have happened in recent projects, and really how to minimize the risks from project design stage onwards. You can also hear about their first of its kind ocean energy insurance fund, and really how this could be a solution to many challenges faced in the industry. So I'll just lastly just say thank you again, Diolch yn fawr, for everyone for joining. And as Tristan said, do get in touch with us at Selkie or Sell2Wales for any further questions, and we'd be happy to chat. All right. So yeah, I'll just say thank you, Tristan, and thank you, everyone. And have a lovely day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.